This is solving equations containing rational expressions. First, you want to check for values that make the rational expressions for the problems undefined. Because if you don't and you get those solutions, then they can't be a part of the solution. You want to clear the fractions, and then if the resulting equation is quadratic, you can use the quadratic formula, or you can factor, complete the square. But if it's linear, just solve it like a linear equation. In other words, if it just has an x without an x squared, solve it as linear. And then check the solution and make sure you don't get any craziness. So let's look at the first one. If we look at, we have denominators of 12, 4, and 3. So over here, I'm going to just rewrite the problem, you guys, because I think it'll be easier. The beauty of this problem is it's never undefined because the denominators are never 0. They're specific numbers. So I'm going to multiply everything through by 12 because that's my least common denominator. 12 goes into 12 once, so those will divide out and we're left with 5. 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 12 3 times, so I end up with a negative 3x. And then 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 2x is 8x. 8x take away 3x is 5x. Divide by 5. X is equal to 1. If we go to check this, we put 1 in for x. I'm just going to quickly put a 1 in everywhere I see an x. So 2 times 1 is 2/3 minus 1/4. Is that 5/12? Well, let's check it out. 2/3 is really 8/12. A quarter is really 3/12. Sure. Fantastic. Good. Now let's take a look at this one. The denominator is just regular x for both of them. So x can't be 0, because if it's 0, that expression will be undefined. So we want to, if we get 0 as a solution, we X it out and say, forget it, you can't use it. So I'm going to rewrite the problem a little bit to make sure we have enough room to multiply through by x. So I'm going to multiply everything through by x. Why am I doing that? Because I need to clear the fractions. This first one will be just 6x because nothing cancels. These guys cancel, plus 5. X times x is x squared. These will divide out. Good. Now I'm left with an x squared in the problem, so I want to make sure I pull everything over and set it equal to 0. And I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to subtract 6x and subtract 5. Good. So 0 is equal to x squared minus 6x minus 7, because negative 2 and negative 5 is a negative 7. Ooh, this is factorable. So let's factor it. X, opposite signs because of that guy. And let's do a negative 7, positive 1. Check your little cradle guy. We're like, yeah. And so x plus 1 is equal to 0. X minus 7 equals 0. X equals negative 1. X equals 7. We take both because the 0 is not part of it. We can check both answers. If we do that, let's just do it because I just want to show you that it works. There we go. I wrote out the original problem. Let's check the negative 1. 6 plus 5 divided by negative 1 is equal to negative 1 minus 2 over negative 1. Well, 5 over negative 1 is negative 5. Negative 2 over negative 1 is a positive 2. 1 equals 1. That totally checks. But what about the 7? Let's check that too. 6 plus 5 over 7. Does that equal 7 minus 2 over 7? Well, this will be 6 and 5 sevenths. And 7 take away 2 sevenths is just going to be 6 and 5 sevenths, because I just need to take off that 2 sevenths. So I'm psyched because both of them check. We have 2 solution equation. Let's do the next one. Now this one is a little bit more involved, but not bad. The first thing we need to see is you say to yourself, oh my gosh, that denominator is not factored, but it's wicked easy to factor, right? The first thing we should look at is, what can't x be? Well, x cannot be 6. X can't be 6 because that will make this guy 0 and this guy 0 on the bottom, and that's bad because you can't divide by 0. And x can't be -6, correct? Because that will make this guy 0 and this guy 0 in the denominator, and you can't divide by 0. So we put those on the shelf to see if we get either one of those, then we X it out. Now, I want to clear the fractions, so I'm going to multiply through by the common denominator, which is x plus 6 times x minus 6. X plus 6 times x minus 6. X plus 6 times x minus 6. And then, of course, I'm going to do the same thing here. And now we'll cancel. I can divide out the x plus 6's, so I'm left with x minus 6. I'm going to divide out the x minus 6's, so I'm left with x plus 6. And then both of these will divide out, yay, and I'm left with 36. So I get 2x. These will add out, equals 36. X is equal to 18. Good, when you divide by 2. And 18 is neither 6 nor -6, so we just put a little box around it and we're good. Now we can check our work. Don't forget that you can check your work. So now let's go for it, and we'll get 1 over x plus 6 plus 1 over x minus 6 is equal to 36 over x squared minus 36. So let's pop in 18. 18 plus 6. 18 take away 6. 36. 18 squared minus 36. So we'll get 1 over 18 plus 6 is 24. Plus 1 over 18 take away 6 is 12. Equals 36 over 18 squared, which is 324, minus 36. And that is 288. So it's going to be, here we go, 1 over 24, you know, keeping it real, guys, is equal to 36 over 288. 1/24. 1/12 is 2/24. So we end up with 3 over 24, which is 1/8. So that's what we got on that one side. And then I can divide both the top and bottom of this fraction by 36, and I will get 1/8. So it does check. Yay! Moving on. All right, this last one is a fraction equal to a fraction. When you have that, that's called, anybody? A proportion. Okay, and when we do that, we're just going to cross multiply because it's going to be way easier. So now let's do the cross multiplication. So it'll be 2x times 4x plus 12 is equal to x plus 3 times x take away 14. Now you might be saying, oh, well, this seems really complicated, but it really isn't. So just relax and enjoy the distribution. So you get 8x squared plus 12 times 2 is 24x, looking good. And we FOIL our little brains out, so we get x squared, take away 14x, plus 3x, and 14 times 3 would be 42, but it's negative because that's negative sign in front of the 14. So we will get x squared minus 11x minus 42 and 8x squared plus 24x. Now, this is an instance where we have x squared, so I'm going to get everything over to the other side. I'm going to subtract x squared, add 11x, and add 42. Subtract x squared, add 11x, and add 42. Almost blew that one, right? So on the right-hand side, we get 0 because they will all add out. So this one becomes 7x squared plus 35x plus 42. Now I say to myself, I see that 7 is common among all three things, so I'm just going to divide out a 7 on both sides because it's going to make my life so much easier, right? So we get x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. So we get x plus 2, x plus 3 equals 0. So x equals negative 3 and x equals negative 2. Now the one thing that I did not do at the beginning of the problem, what was it? It's identify what x cannot be. And if I look at both of these denominators, x can't be negative 3, because if I put negative 3 into this guy, it'll become 0. If I put negative 3 into that guy, it will also become 0. Did I get negative 3 as a solution? You bet your sweet bippy I did, so I cross him off. So the only solution is x is equal to negative 2. And then finally, let's just do the check, because just to make sure, because on these problems are so complicated, a lot of algebra involved, and there are places to mess up, right? So 2 times, and I'm going to stick negative 2 in for x everywhere I see an x. Negative 2 times 2 is a negative 4. The denominator will be a 1. This numerator becomes negative 16, and this is negative 8 plus 12. So this will be negative 4. Negative 16 over 4 is negative 4. Woohoo! We're good. Now you can do the MyMathLab assignment associated with this lesson. Good luck, ask lots of questions, and remember, just take your time to avoid a lot of mistakes. Take care and do the math.